everybody! How have you been? Our next story is How Much Land Does a Man Need by Leo Tolstoy. When Tsar Alexander II, Emperor of Russia from 1855 to 1881, finally freed the serfs in 1861, many of the peasants were no better off than they had been. Many were too poor to buy the land they had worked on. Also, the land they were allotted were too small to farm efficiently to support the family. From the 16th century to the mid-19th century, Russia peasants were serfs, bound by law to work land they could rent but not own. At the time of the story, peasants were allowed to own property. The memory of earlier times, however, kept peasants, like Pahom in the story, hungry for land. The literary analysis for this story is the theme. It is the central message or lesson it communicates. It is a generalization about people or about life that is communicated through the plot, characters, and setting. For example, a simple story might have the theme, "Honesty is the best policy." A more complex work might show that human suffering cannot be justified or explained. Notice the difference? Remember, the theme is not the same as the subject of the work, which can usually be expressed in a word or two. Hard work, friendship, ambition. Again, remember the difference between theme and moral. A moral is a lesson or rule about how to live. In many cases, a theme reflects a philosophical assumption, the writer's basic beliefs about life. For instance, a writer may make the assumption that being generous leads to happiness. The writer's literary work may reflect this belief. The theme, on the other hand, is an observation about the world, life, or the human situation. A statement of theme must be logical, given the details of the work. Also, a fictional work may have several related themes. To express a theme, a writer may take one of these approaches. Stated directly is expressed directly by the author, or implied theme is suggested indirectly through the experiences of the characters or through the events and the setting of the work. For instance, by contrasting a generous man and his selfish brother to say something about generosity. The reading skill for this story is draw conclusion. When you draw conclusion, you reach a decision or form an opinion based on information in a text. To draw a conclusion, identifying the theme of a work, recognize details, combining later details with earlier ones to identify meaningful patterns. Remember, the writers rarely tell readers things directly. Instead, we, the readers, draw conclusion by considering the underlying meaning of details that the writer includes or does not include. For example, take a look at the chart, story detail. Greedy Joe invests in a crooked scheme. He loses his money. Story detail. Generous John tricks the crooks and saves Joe. Pattern. Being greedy causes harm. Being generous leads to solutions. Notice that combining later and earlier details from the story, you can identify meaningful patterns or templates. Before you read, think about greed is the root of evil. A material life is a good life. The land cannot be owned. It belongs to everyone. To get ahead in life, one must take what he or she can from others. What do you think? Do you agree? How much land does a man need illuminates Tolstoy's sentiments about the perils of private ownership. A peasant named Pahom seeks to acquire more and more land. Find out more about private property encourages individual greed. So, are you ready to read? After you read, I'm sending you a Draw Conclusion theme worksheet. There is an example to guide you on how to fill out the boxes. At the bottom, I'm giving you a question for you to write a 2-paragraph answer. Then, I'm asking you to write a conversation or dialogue. A conversation is a talk, especially an informal one between 2 or more people in which news and ideas are exchanged. Write a conversation between Pahom and the devil. What do you think Pahom has learned? How do you think he feels about the trick the devil played upon him? What do you think the devil wants to say to Pahom about his greed and boastfulness? I'm sending a document on how to write a conversation with tips for you to follow. Write a conversation of 200 words. Use letter size 14. Write it in Word and upload it in Classroom. Alright, have fun!